Hey folks, welcome to Shooting Up North. I'm your host, Louis Carlin. We're heard right here on the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you so much for everyone that has hit that subscribe button, has viewed a video, and has hit that like button. Thank you so much, everybody, for the support. We have just hit 100,000 views here on the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network YouTube channel. So again, thank you so much, everybody that has decided to support the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network YouTube channel. Really appreciate it. Okay, there's Fightful Select putting this out about an hour or so ago. Tons of news on Jonah, or formerly known as Bronson Reed. It says Jonah, still based out of Florida, clarified that immigration issues are what caused him to be booked, then unbooked from Impact Bound for Glory. Said New Japan Pro Wrestling's Rocky Romero reached out to him within a few days of his WWE release to extend that New Japan Pro Wrestling wanted him to work for the company. Jonah then specified that his deal with New Japan Pro Wrestling, while it's not exclusive, it is his priority. And he puts that promotion ahead of anything else. It exactly says that Jonah specified that his deal with New Japan Pro Wrestling is not exclusive, and his priority is there ahead of anything else. The working relationship between New Japan Pro Wrestling and Impact helped him make his decision to work for both easier. D'Lo Brown was the one that contacted him to come into Impact Wrestling. And it says here, when Jonah was released, it says he called Shawn Michaels, who was surprised by the move. Shawn Michaels was surprised by the move, and Shawn Michaels told Jonah to make them regret their decision. I kind of like that from Shawn Michaels, and I think Jonah's doing that already. He's making them regret their decision because he's coming across as a monster star already in Impact and in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He says he hadn't spoke to Triple H, but says he hopes to when Triple H is all healed up. So Jonah making New Japan Pro Wrestling his number one priority, even though it's not exclusive. He can wrestle anywhere else. Hence, he's wrestling for Impact Wrestling. But I could see him heading to Japan, not just wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. I can see Jonah going over to Japan, much like Jeff Cobb has done. I could even see him joining the United Empire, Will Ospreay's faction eventually. Or we could get Jeff Cobb one-on-one with Jonah will be a tremendous match. But Jonah going over there to Japan, I can see Jonah heading over there, taking on Tomohiro Ishii, Tetsuya Naito, having a feud with Kazuchika Okada, Kota Ibushi. There's a lot of great possibilities out there in New Japan Pro Wrestling for Jonah. And of course, you know, if he stays here in New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, there's a lot of talent here as well. And of course, Tomohiro Ishii comes out here to New Japan. I'm sorry, comes out to New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. We get Minoru Suzuki will appear in New Japan. So there's a endless possibilities for Jonah in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Jay White would be a great match one-on-one against Jonah. But like I said, I would love to see him to go to Japan. I would love to see him in next year's G1 Climax. I think that would be fantastic. And hopefully this whole COVID thing will be behind us, and all the borders will be open, and we can see Jonah heading over there. But I kind of see him. I don't know. I kind of see him joining Will Ospreay's United Empire, which includes right now Jeff Cobb, Will Ospreay, of course, Jeff Cobb, Aaron Hanare, and the Great O'Khan. I would love to see Jonah join that faction. I think he would fit in perfectly with that faction. Think about like next year, the World Tag League. If Jeff Cobb is teaming with Jonah in the World Tag League, that would be just spectacular. And I can see them actually going after the IWGP tag team titles as well, which currently held by Tai Chi and Zack Sabre Jr. Again, lots of possibilities for Jonah in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I think it's a smart move making New Japan Pro Wrestling his number one priority, because we could get some really great matches involving Jonah in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Of course, in Impact Wrestling as well, we're going to get the Josh Alexander match. He specified that he wanted Moose, so I can see him against Eddie Edwards. So there's a lot of good matchups for him in Impact Wrestling as well. But I would love to see him head on over to Japan and cause a stir, out there. But again, I'm going to call it here, actually. I'm calling it right now that Jonah will be joining the United Empire. I'm predicting right now. So if he does join the United Empire, you could say, "Oh, Lewis said it first." So I'm saying it right here. I'm predicting that Jonah is going to join the United Empire. And Will Ospreay is no longer scheduled to appear for MLW. I know I touched upon it on a past podcast, but it wasn't really confirmed, but it's confirmed here. It says Will Ospreay won't be headed to MLW after all, according to SE Scoops. Michael Richland of SE Scoops. Will Ospreay will no longer be appearing for Major League Wrestling. It was announced at Major League Fightland that Will Ospreay would debut in the fall, and then it was announced that he would appear in December of 2021. I originally heard November, but it says he was scheduled to debut in December 2021. And according to the report, the working relationship between MLW and New Japan Pro Wrestling ended in mid-November, and MLW is now working with All Japan Pro Wrestling. MLW instituted their open door policy for free agents. Ospreay has been active in America, working for New Japan Pro Wrestling strong events and claiming to be the real IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, which he's not, as Shingo Takagi. But it says Fightful will provide more details on Ospreay not appearing for MLW if and when they become available. So Will Ospreay not appearing for MLW. I kind of think New Japan Pro Wrestling ended the relationship once the MLW All Japan Pro Wrestling relationship started, which is understandable. But it's not really it's not that bad of a thing for MLW that Will Ospreay is not going to make his one appearance, and I don't think it's a major thing. I don't think it's something to really be upset about, because they have their working relationship now with All Japan Pro Wrestling. All Japan Pro Wrestling has some major stars. Jake Lee, the Triple Crown champion right now. Kento Miyahara, one of the best wrestlers in the world, in my opinion. They have Yuma Ayagi, who is absolutely terrific. Suwama, Suji Ishikawa, Shitaro Oshino. They have a lot of great talent. The Saito twins, they're newcomers to professional wrestling. They're like the young lions of All Japan Pro Wrestling. They're actually coming to the States, and they should be in MLW actually in 2022. But there's a lot of possibilities for All Japan Pro Wrestling to mix it up with MLW talent. As we know, Tajiri is the current MLW middleweight champion. He'll be back. I think he's coming back this month or next month to defend the MLW middleweight title. I don't expect him to have it that long. I'm expecting Myra Reed to get it back, or Ariz or Aramis to win the title. Maybe Casey Navarro, but I don't expect Tajiri to hold the belt too long. But just think, MLW versus All Japan Pro Wrestling show would be absolutely insane, in my opinion. It would be just fantastic. So many potential matchups. I'm actually going to probably, I'm going to do a podcast where I'm going to do a fantasy booking. I think I'm going to do that in the next week or so. I'm going to do a fantasy booking card, All Japan Pro Wrestling versus MLW, because MLW was just in Mexico, where they wrestled with the Crash promotion out in Mexico in front of 5,000 fans. So that's really exciting. But I would love to see MLW stars head on over to Japan, and All Japan Pro Wrestling stars heading on over to the States, and we could have a big MLW versus All Japan Pro Wrestling mega show. Just think, champion versus champion, Alexander Hammerstone, the MLW openweight champion, versus Jake Lee, the All Japan Pro Wrestling Triple Crown champion, would just be insane. My goodness. What if Alex Kane defended the openweight title against Kento Miyahara? We'd have a new champion, I know for sure, but that would be a tremendous match as well. But I'm going to put together a show. I'm going to put together a fantasy show. Anybody has any ideas, suggestions, or what matches you would like to see between MLW and All Japan Pro Wrestling, feel free to put it in the comments. But I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to do a podcast on that. But once again, Will Ospreay is no longer scheduled to appear for MLW. Okay, that's it for now. Might be back a little later. If not, I'll be back tomorrow. But until then, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye-bye.